Welcome to Moonlight Tales by Cofford. Please subscribe for more. Thank you. She gave her heart to a stranger for one night. She didn't know he would come back, with a contract. The rain slid down the windows like liquid glass, streaking the city in shades of silver and midnight. Inside the velvet sky, Atlanta's most exclusive rooftop lounge, the mood was warm, gold lighting, quiet music, and the murmur of money. Ayanna Cole sat alone at the end of the bar in a fitted black dress, heels crossed, fingers tracing the rim of her untouched glass. She was 24. Smart. Tired. And completely out of options. Her phone screen glowed with one last email. Job interview, unfortunately, we've chosen to go in a different direction. She closed it. Her third rejection this week. First the internship. Then the rent hike. And now her mother's nursing home threatening to discharge her unless the bill was paid. Ayanna didn't belong in a place like this. The champagne cost more than her groceries. The women wore silk and diamonds. The men reeked of old money and quiet power. She was here because she wanted to feel unseen. Just once. To let her pain blur in the lights and pretend that this wasn't her reality. Then she felt him watching. Across the room, in the farthest corner booth, a man in a deep charcoal suit leaned back, his eyes fixed on her. He wasn't trying to flirt. He wasn't trying to impress. He was simply watching. And when their eyes met, he tilted his glass in her direction, as if he already knew her story. Ayanna turned away quickly. But something about him pulled her back. He stood and crossed the room without hesitation, each step fluid like a man who never got told no. You don't like champagne? He asked, stopping beside her bar stool. Ayanna glanced up. It's not that. It's the night. She blinked. Excuse me. The night's been cruel to you. I can see it in your eyes. She almost laughed, almost. You always open conversations with emotional ambushes. Only when the person looks like they're about to shatter. She narrowed her gaze. You're observant. I'm dangerous, he said. Is that supposed to scare me? No, he pulled out the seat beside her. It's supposed to intrigue you. They didn't exchange names. That made it easier. He told her stories about people who built empires and burned them down. She talked about college, her mother, the way the system chewed people up and left them hanging. She didn't cry. But she felt seen, in a way she hadn't in months. At midnight, he asked if she wanted to leave. She hesitated. Just once, Ayanna wanted to forget who she had to be. Strong. Strategic. Careful. She nodded. The suite was high above the city. Clean lines, marble counters, a fireplace already burning. He poured her water, not wine. He didn't touch her. He asked if she wanted to stay. She said yes. And that night, in that room, they didn't make promises. They didn't fall in love. They just existed. Ayanna woke before sunrise, fully dressed, her shoes at the edge of the bed. He was gone. No name. No note. Just silence. 1 week later. Ayanna was back behind the counter at the flower shop, elbows deep in crushed tulips, when the bell above the door rang. She didn't look up. Sorry, we're not doing custom arrangements today, she called. But then she felt the shift in the room, like the air had tightened. She turned. And dropped the clippers in her hand. The man from the bar was standing in front of her. Only this time, he was wearing a designer trench coat, flanked by two silent men in sunglasses. Ayanna's chest froze. You, she whispered. He stepped closer. You left before I could ask your name. You didn't give yours, either. He nodded, pulled something from his coat. A folded sheet of legal paper. Ayanna opened it with trembling hands. Her name. His name. A marriage certificate. What the hell is this? She breathed. My proposal, he said smoothly. You're going to be my wife. Ayanna couldn't speak for several seconds. The paper in her hands was real. Not some prank or placeholder. It had her legal name typed across the top in clean black letters, Ayanna Amara Cole. Beneath it, his name was listed in bold. Malik K. Rashad. She blinked at it. The name struck something distant in her memory, something she'd heard on the news or maybe read in an article. You're Malik Rashad, she whispered. Wait, the Malik Rashad. He nodded slowly. The realization landed like a brick in her chest. CEO of Rashad Capital Group. Youngest black billionaire in the country. Investor, tech mogul, rumored underground connections. Wealthy enough to disappear entire companies. Powerful enough to never show his face, except in whispers and lawsuits. She just spent the night with one of the most dangerous, untouchable men in America. And now he was asking her to marry him. Okay. This is crazy, Ayanna said, stepping back. You show up after one night, with a marriage certificate? Who even does that? Malik's voice remained low, calm, and terrifying in its certainty. Men who know exactly what they want. Ayanna folded the paper, shoving it back into his hand. I don't even know you. Not true, he said. You barely told me anything about yourself. You didn't ask. You were too busy telling me about you. That night wasn't supposed to mean anything, she snapped, heat rushing to her cheeks. It did to me. Ayanna stared at him like he'd lost his mind. But he looked completely in control. And worse, he looked serious. This is insane, she whispered. You can't just buy people. I'm not buying you, Malik said. I'm offering you something that no one else will. Oh really? And what's that? He leaned forward just slightly. A life where no one ever touches you again. No bills. No threats. No more nights wondering how you're going to make it. A life where you don't have to fight. Everything by yourself. Ayanna froze. Her throat tightened. Because even if she didn't want to admit it, every word was true. You think I'll just say yes because you're rich and charming, she said softly. No, he replied. I think you'll say yes because I see you. And because I know exactly how to take care of you in ways no one else has. Before she could speak again, her boss peeked his head out from the back. Ayanna, he said nervously. You didn't tell me you were entertaining royalty. She gave him a look. It's fine, Mr. Curtis. He was just leaving. But Malik stepped in first. Actually, she just quit. Ayanna's jaw dropped. What? Malik pulled a gold business card from his wallet and handed it to Mr. Curtis. She's under new employment. And protection. Mr. Curtis took the card with trembling hands. Of course. I didn't mean any, yes, sir. No problem. Malik turned back to Ayanna. I'll be outside. You have 10 minutes to decide. Then he walked out. Like it was already settled. Ayanna stood in the break room, staring at the clock, heart in freefall. She had no money left. Her mother's care was on the brink of being revoked. She was alone in a city that didn't care if she disappeared. And this man, this billionaire, this stranger, was offering her a solution. It made no sense. But it felt too big to ignore. At exactly 10 minutes, she walked out of the flower shop. And got into the black SUV parked at the curb. The ride to his estate was silent. Not a word exchanged. But she could feel him watching her. Studying her. As if memorizing the lines of her face. They pulled through tall, private gates into a sprawling compound outside the city. Modern architecture. Smooth stone and steel. A fountain at the front shaped like a spiral galaxy. 2 security guards opened the doors. Malik stepped out first, then turned and offered his hand. Ayanna hesitated, then took it. His palm was warm. Strong. And steady in a way she hadn't felt in years. Inside, the mansion was quiet. High ceilings. Walls lined with original art and rare books. A grand piano sat unused in the corner of the sitting room. She tried to absorb it all, the wealth, the silence, the surrealness of it. "Why me?" she asked finally, her voice echoing slightly in the marble-floored hall. Malik turned to her, hands clasped behind his back. "Because you didn't want anything from me. That's not a reason to marry someone." "I disagree." She stared at him, stunned. "Do you even believe in love?" "I believe in honesty," he said. "And right now, I'm being honest, I want you. I don't want a socialite or a media-trained heiress. I want you." Ayanna shook her head. "That doesn't make sense." "I know." He smirked. "It doesn't have to." An older woman in a gray suit approached. "Mrs. Reed will take you to the guest wing," Malik said. Ayanna blinked. "Guest wing? Until we're officially married. You'll have your own space." She hesitated. "And if I change my mind?" He turned to her, expression unreadable. "I'll let you go." Her breath hitched. "Just like that?" "Yes. But you won't." She almost hated how certain he sounded. Her suite was bigger than any place she'd ever lived. A king-size bed. A closet full of clothes with the tags still on. A wall of windows facing the private garden. Ayanna sank into the armchair and stared at the floor. What was she doing? This wasn't her life. She wasn't supposed to be the kind of woman who got swept up by billionaires and bodyguards and secret estates. She was supposed to grind her way through life and maybe, make it out breathing. But now, nothing made sense. That night, a soft knock came at her door. She opened it to find Malik standing there in a black sweater and dark jeans. Not a suit. Not a threat. Just a man. "I wanted to give you this," he said, handing her a slim envelope. Inside was a legal document. Her mother's care bill. Fully paid. 6 months in advance. Ayanna looked up, mouth opening. "I didn't ask you to." "I didn't wait for you to," he said. Silence stretched between them. Finally, she whispered, "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll marry me tomorrow," he replied quietly. "And I'll handle everything else." Her chest ached. She hated him a little, for being so calm. For taking control. For making her feel like she could breathe for the first time in forever. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no, either. That night, Malik sat alone in his study, watching the fireplace. One of his security men stepped inside quietly. "She's in her suite," the man said. "All's quiet." Malik didn't look up. "Her file?" The man handed him a folder. Malik flipped it open. Photos. School records. Medical debt. Resume gaps. And at the back, a note, "All job opportunities were quietly closed per your instruction." Malik closed the file. She was his now. And nothing, no one, would take her away. She signed her name, but didn't realize she was signing her freedom away. The morning light filtered through sheer curtains, soft and golden. Ayanna stirred beneath linen sheets that felt like clouds. For a split second, she forgot where she was. Then she opened her eyes. The ceiling wasn't cracked drywall. The floor didn't creak. The sheets smelled like jasmine, not detergent. And the view outside her window wasn't a streetlight and brick wall, it was a sculpted garden lined with tall cypress trees and a marble fountain in the center. This wasn't her life. It was Malik Rashad's world. And she was in it now. Ayana sat up slowly, unsure whether to feel awe or fear. A knock came at the door, soft, but purposeful. "Come in," she called, unsure. A woman stepped inside, dressed in a gray blazer and slacks, her hair wrapped neatly in a silk scarf. Mid-40s, calm, and composed. "Good morning, Mrs. Cole," she said politely. "I'm Miriam. Mr. Rashad asked me to assist you while you get settled." Ayana blinked. "You can call me Ayana." Miriam smiled faintly. "Breakfast is being served in the east dining room. If you prefer to eat here, I can arrange that as well." Ayana stood, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I'll come down." Miriam handed her a folded robe. "There are clothes in the closet. Mr. Rashad had your measurements." "Of course he did," Ayana muttered, half amused, half annoyed. Miriam didn't react. Just bowed her head slightly and stepped out of the room. The east dining room was the size of a banquet hall. A long table of polished dark wood stretched the length of the room, lined with 12 high-backed chairs. Only one spot was set, the one at the head of the table. Malik sat there, perfectly still, in a deep navy suit and open collar. No tie. No laptop. Just black coffee in a white mug. He looked up as she entered, then stood, not rushing, not awkward. As if standing for her was the most natural thing in the world. Ayana paused in the doorway. "This feels like a royal court, not breakfast." "Would you prefer a stool and a paper plate?" he asked, half smiling. She gave him a look but walked over. He held the chair out for her. The gesture caught her off guard. "Thank you," she murmured, sitting down. Food was already being placed in front of her, fruit, toast, soft eggs, and tea. Elegant, but not overwhelming. She glanced at him. "Is this, every day?" He nodded. "If you want it. And if I don't? Then it stops." Ayana sipped the tea, watching him from over the rim of her cup. "You really expect me to just live here and play wife while I figure out who I married?" Malik didn't flinch. "No. I expect you to live here and learn." "Learn what?" "Everything." After breakfast, Malik led her into a private study on the second floor. It was sunlit now, books and floor-to-ceiling windows casting long shadows over a dark mahogany desk. He handed her a document. Not folded this time. Legal paper, gold emboss. "You're already legally my wife," he said. "But this makes your position official, and protected." Ayana skimmed the first page. Her heart skipped a beat. Monthly stipend. Health insurance. Power of attorney. Full authority over household staff. Access to any shared property. She looked up, suspicious. "This is generous. It's fair." "No, it's powerful. You're giving me power." Malik held her gaze. "You're not a doll, Ayana. You're not decoration. You're mine, but not as property. As a partner." The word caught her breath. "Partner? I don't need a silent wife," he said. "I need someone who doesn't flinch when power enters the room. And someone who doesn't lie to my face." Ayana blinked. "You think I'm that woman?" "I already know you are." The pen felt heavy in her hand. She signed. Later, she explored the estate. Miriam showed her the private library, the solarium, and the art wing. But no matter how big the mansion felt, Ayana couldn't shake the sense that it was also a cage. Every hallway had cameras. Every exit was guarded. Every door required access. At one point, she passed a door on the lower level, solid black, no handle. Just a digital scanner. What's in there? She asked Miriam. Miriam's face barely shifted. Private records, she said quickly. For the business. Ayanna nodded, but her gut told her that wasn't the full story. That night, she sat on her balcony wrapped in a blanket, drinking warm mint tea. She couldn't sleep. Everything was too still. Too controlled. Too quiet. She was married to a man she didn't know, living in a palace she hadn't earned, protected by people she hadn't met, and somehow, part of her didn't feel afraid. She felt watched. Not in a creepy way. Just closely. Like Malik was always nearby. Listening. The door opened behind her. She turned. It was him. He didn't come close. Just stood near the doorway, his eyes soft under the night sky. Do you regret it? He asked. Ayanna looked down at the city in the distance. No, she said quietly. But I don't understand it. He nodded once. You will. She hesitated. Why me, Malik? Why really? He was silent for a moment. Then he stepped out onto the balcony beside her. I've spent years surrounded by people who smile to steal, he said. You looked at me like I was a man. Not a title. Not a threat. I was drunk, she said, half joking. You were real, he countered. Ayanna turned to face him. You know this isn't normal, right? I didn't want normal, he said. I wanted you. Her heart skipped again. Not out of love. But confusion. And curiosity. When he left, she found a file envelope on her nightstand. Inside was a letter from her mother's doctor. Paid in full. Future care guaranteed. And a note from Malik, handwritten in black ink. You never have to be alone again. M. Ayanna pressed her lips together. She should have felt grateful. Instead, she felt indebted. And that was more dangerous. In another wing of the mansion, Malik stood in front of a secure glass wall. Inside the room beyond it, rows of servers blinked with quiet lights. His head of security stood beside him. She's adjusting, the man said. Malik nodded. Make sure the media stays quiet. No leaks. No headlines. And her files? Wiped from public systems. Replaced with a new resume. 2 degrees. Volunteer history. No gaps. Impressive, the guard said. Malik didn't respond. He just stared at the glass. Staring through the reflection of his own eyes. Being his wife was one thing. Being seen as his equal, was another. The next morning, Ayanna woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of murmured voices outside her door. Miriam entered a moment later with a calm nod. Good morning, Ayanna. Mr. Rashad asked me to prepare you for today's event. Ayanna rubbed her eyes. Event? Public appearance. You're first as Mrs. Rashad. She froze. I'm not ready for that. You don't have a choice, Miriam said gently. You are now a public figure, and Malik Rashad's name carries weight in rooms far beyond this house. Ayanna sat up slowly. And what exactly am I supposed to do? Just smile and stay quiet? Miriam didn't flinch. No. You observe. You don't speak unless spoken to. You remember that the wives in his world aren't decoration, they're defense. An hour later, Ayanna stood in front of a full-length mirror in a private dressing room. The dress was sleek and champagne gold, hugging her curves in a way that felt bold and soft at the same time. Her hair was swept back in a natural bun, her makeup flawless but subtle. She didn't recognize herself. And she wasn't sure if that was a good thing. The car ride was silent. Malik sat beside her in a custom black suit, his watch glinting in the sun. He didn't speak until they were nearly there. There will be people who try to test you, he said without looking at her. Smile. Don't engage. If anyone asks how we met. We met through friends, Ayana said flatly. He finally looked at her. Are you nervous? I'd be worried if I wasn't. He nodded. Good. That means you're awake. They arrived at a tall glass tower downtown, the site of a charity gala benefiting youth entrepreneurship. Photographers lined the entrance. Red carpet. Press. VIPs in shimmering gowns and expensive smiles. The moment Ayana stepped out of the car, the cameras began flashing. She kept her chin high, Malik's hand gently on the small of her back. He walked like he owned the world. And for all Ayana could inside, the event was already in full swing. Servers moved through the crowd with trays of wine and canapés. Billionaires, politicians, tech executives, and their wives, mingled in tight circles. Ayana didn't miss the way some women stared at her. Curious. Cold. Calculating. She could almost hear their thoughts. Who is she? Where did she come from? What did she do to catch Malik Rashad? A tall woman in emerald green approached. Elegant, sharp, mid-30s. Malik, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. And this must be the new wife. Ayana offered a polite nod. Ayana. The woman's gaze flicked over her like she was inspecting fabric. I'm Zara Ease. Malik and I, go back. I've heard, Malik said dryly. Zara smiled. We all wondered when you'd finally settle down. Though I must admit, Ayana, you're unexpected. Ayana held her gaze. Is that a compliment or an insult? Zara laughed softly. Smart. I see why he chose, maybe he did. A tall woman in emerald green approached. Elegant, sharp, mid-30s. Malik, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. And this must be the new wife. Ayana offered a polite nod. Ayana. The woman's gaze flicked over her like she was inspecting fabric. I'm Zara Ease. Malik and I, go back. I've heard, Malik said dryly. Zara smiled. We all wondered when you'd finally settle down. Though I must admit, Ayana, you're unexpected. Ayana held her gaze. Is that a compliment or an insult? Zara laughed softly. Smart. I see why he chose you. Malik gently steered Ayana away. She's a politician's wife, he murmured. Always fishing. Ayana exhaled. She was testing me. They all will. Later that night, Ayana stood alone near the open balcony of the venue. The city shimmered below like a sheet of stars. She was still trying to make sense of what this life was. Money wasn't just money here. It was armor. Language. Power. She felt like she'd stepped into a different universe. And the universe was watching her back. Malik appeared at her side, holding 2 glasses of sparkling cider. No alcohol. No pressure. He handed her one. You didn't stumble once, he said. I memorized the rules, she replied, taking a small sip. And you still hate it. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at him. Do they know about us? That we didn't meet through friends? They know better than to ask. And if they find out? I don't care what they know, he said quietly. You're mine. That's all that matters. Back at the estate, Ayana changed into loungewear and sat in front of the mirror. The woman staring back was still her. But different. Not weaker. Not fake. Just, becoming. That night, Miriam appeared at her door with a slim velvet box. Mr. Rashad wanted you to have this, she said. Inside was a necklace, gold, minimalist, with a single charm. A key. Ayana held it in her palm. What's it for? Miriam hesitated. He said when you're ready, you'll know. Meanwhile, in the secured wing of the house, Malik reviewed footage of the gala from a private monitor, not the event cameras, but his own surveillance. He zoomed in on Zara Ease, then on another man near her, whispering something into a phone. He narrowed his eyes. Keep watching her, he told his head of security. And the wife? The man asked. Malik's tone was even. Protect her. But don't tell her she's in danger. Not yet. When you marry a king, you inherit his enemies. It started with a phone call. Ayana had just stepped into the solarium, drawn by sunlight and silence. She needed space to breathe, to think, to figure out if this life was real or just a beautiful trap with soft pillows. She sank onto a chaise, the key-shaped necklace still hanging from her neck. Her phone buzzed once. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Then answered. Hello. Silence. Then. You're in over your head, Ayana Cole. Her heart stilled. Who is this? Get out while you still can. The line went dead. She stared at the screen, heart hammering, fingers tightening around the phone. She ran to Miriam first. Someone called me. They knew my name. Ayana stopped herself. The word sounded paranoid out loud. Miriam's expression didn't change. What did they say? Ayana hesitated. That I should leave. That I'm in danger. Miriam nodded once, calm. Stay inside today. That's it. You're not surprised. I'll inform Mr. Rashad, she said. I can tell him myself. No, Miriam said, more firmly. He left strict instructions. He's out for the day. Security will be doubled around the perimeter. But you are not to leave the grounds. Ayana folded her arms. Am I a wife, or a hostage? Miriam didn't answer. That night, she paced her suite. The sun had set. The guards outside her windows barely moved. Someone out there knew who she was. Knew she didn't belong. Knew enough to get her number and deliver a threat. And Malik? Gone. No calls. No updates. No word from him since the gala. Ayana stood at the window, gripping the pendant on her necklace. What was the key for? What had she really stepped into? Malik returned just after midnight. Ayana heard the soft opening of her door, no knock, no warning, and turned to find him standing there in his black coat, shadows clinging to his frame. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, voice low. His expression darkened slightly. Tell you what? The phone call. The threat. His jaw clenched. Miriam told me. You weren't in danger. You don't get to decide that for me. I do, he said quietly. As long as you wear that ring, your safety is my responsibility. I'm not just something you can lock up and protect, Malik. No. You're something I refuse to lose. His voice cracked with something sharp. Possessive. Raw. Real. Ayana's breath caught. He turned away, walked to the glass doors of the balcony. You want the truth, he said. She didn't answer. Someone's testing me. The gala made us visible. Some of my rivals want to know if you're real, or just a headline. Ayana stepped closer. What does that mean? It means you've become a target, he said. And they're looking for cracks in your armor. Her pulse spiked. I don't have armor. That's why I gave you mine. The next day, Ayana insisted on going with him. Behind again, she said, standing at the not leaving me. You're not leaving me behind again, she said, standing at the base of the stairs in jeans and a blouse, arms crossed. If I'm your wife, I stand beside you. Not behind you. Malik studied her. Then nodded. They arrived at a private boardroom in Victoria Island, where Rashad Capital's core investors met behind closed doors. Tall glass walls. Men in suits. Women in silk. Watchful eyes. As soon as Ayana entered, all conversation slowed. But she didn't flinch. She took her seat beside Malik, back straight, chin high. A man across the table, older, smooth, condescending, smiled at her too long. Nice to see Mr. Rashad has finally found companionship, he said. Ayana looked him straight in the eye. I'm not just companionship, she said. I'm protection, too. Malik smirked. The room went silent. Then the meeting resumed. Later, in the car, Malik turned to her. That was bold, he said. I meant it, she replied. He studied her face. And for the first time, she saw something new in his eyes, not calculation. Not control. But respect. That night, while Ayana read on her bed, another envelope arrived. No note. No name. Inside was a single photo. Ayana, outside the flower shop. Alone. Taken weeks ago. Behind her in the photo, barely visible, stood a blurred figure in a dark coat. Watching her. Long before Malik ever approached her. Her blood ran cold. She turned the photo over. For words in black ink. You were always marked. She ran down the hall, key necklace bouncing against her chest. Found Malik in the security room, surrounded by screens and maps and blinking monitors. She threw the photo on the desk. This was before everything. Before I met you. Why was someone following me? Malik's face changed. From control. To fire. He picked up the photo slowly. Then reached for his phone. Track the signature. I want the original negative. Pull every facial recognition record from the surrounding 10 blocks. Ayana grabbed his arm. No more secrets. He looked at her. And finally, nodded. You're not in my world anymore, Ayana, he said. You are my world. You can marry power. You can sleep beside it. But you'll never be safe from what it's hiding. Ayana didn't sleep. The photo burned in her memory, her image outside the flower shop, weeks before she ever met Malik, with a shadowy figure in the background. You were always marked. The message haunted her. The implication terrified her. Had Malik been watching her all along? By morning, she still hadn't decided whether to confront him again. When she entered the dining room, he was already seated, dressed in gray slacks and a navy shirt, casually flipping through an investor report. He looked up. You didn't come to bed. Ayana sat across from him, ignoring the breakfast tray. You didn't answer my question. He didn't pretend to misunderstand. Someone else was watching you. Not me. But you knew. I suspected. He folded the paper. I didn't want to scare you until I had confirmation. So instead you let me believe I was just falling into this. You were, he said softly. But someone else tried to get there first. Ayana stared at him. Do you know who? His jaw tightened. Not yet. But I will. That afternoon, Ayana wandered into the estate's garden, a sprawling maze of trimmed hedges, fountains, and stone pathways. It was quiet. Too quiet. She paused by a koi pond, staring at her reflection. How had she gone from working a flower shop to being married to a billionaire surrounded by bodyguards and biometric doors? She touched the key pendant around her neck. Still no lock. Still no answers. Behind her, a twig snapped. She turned, sharply. Nothing. She narrowed her eyes, scanning the hedges. Then she saw it, a dark figure, just beyond the arch of rose bushes. Watching. Ayana's breath caught. "Hello?" she called. The figure moved. Fast. She ran after them. Heart pounding, heels crunching on gravel, the key bouncing against her chest. She turned the corner and the path was empty. No one. She turned back, chest heaving, and ran straight into Malik. He caught her before she fell. "What happened?" he asked. "I saw someone," she gasped. "In the garden. Watching me." His face darkened. He looked to the guard nearby. "Lock the grounds. Nobody leaves. Nobody enters." Back inside, Ayana sat in the security room while footage was reviewed. "No trace," the technician said. "Nothing on the feeds. Could be a blind spot." Malik looked at her. "You believe me, don't you?" she asked. "I always believe you," he said. "But," she pushed. "But I don't believe in ghosts. And whoever's haunting us knows how to stay invisible." That night, Malik didn't leave her side. He sat with her in the lounge, silent but close. He brought her tea. He didn't ask for anything in return. Ayana studied him. He was calm. Powerful. Unreadable. But she sensed it now, a thread of fear buried deep beneath the surface. Not for himself. For her. She stood and walked to the balcony, staring out at the lights beyond the estate gates. He followed. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Regret what?" "Marrying me." His answer came without pause. "Never. Even now. When your enemies see me as your weakness." He turned to her. "You were never my weakness. Then what am I?" He stepped closer. "You're my reason. And my risk." They stood in silence for a moment, the wind brushing between them. Then Malik reached into his coat and pulled out a small keycard, black with a silver stripe. He held it out to her. "What's this?" "The door," he said. "The black one in the lower hallway?" He nodded. Ayana took it slowly. "Why now?" "Because you deserve to know what you married into." She didn't go that night. She waited. Thought. Tried to sleep, and failed. By morning, she'd made her decision. The hallway was dim, lit only by recessed lights. Her bare feet made no sound against the stone. She held the keycard in shaking fingers. The black door blinked once, then slid open. Inside, a cold, steel-walled room. Files. Monitors. Screens showing global feeds. Redacted documents. Maps with pins. And a single desk. Ayana stepped forward. On the desk was a folder labeled Ayana Cole, Subject 0. She opened it. The first page was a photo of her, age 17, standing outside her mother's clinic. The second, a psychological profile. Third, her financial history. Fourth, surveillance notes dating back 2 years. Her vision blurred. She turned the last page and found a sticky note in Malik's handwriting. "I saw you long before we met. I didn't know your name, but I knew I wanted you safe. M." Footsteps behind her. She turned. Malik stood in the doorway. "You followed me," she said, voice hollow. "I protected you. You profiled me. I prepared for you." Ayana backed away. "You chose me before I ever had a choice." He didn't argue. She turned and walked past him. She didn't run. But she didn't stop, either. Back in her room, she sat on the floor, clutching the keycard like a wound. He hadn't lied. But he hadn't been honest either. That night, she slept with the key beneath her pillow. And dreamed of a man with a mask. Watching her from the garden. Waiting. She married him to survive. But now, the truth might be what destroys them both. The silence stretched longer than it should have. Ayanna hadn't spoken to Malik in 2 days. She ate her meals in her room. Declined his requests to talk. Left the keycard on her nightstand like a warning. And every time she tried to close her eyes, her mind replayed the words from the file. Subject 0. She didn't know what it meant. But she knew it made her feel more like an experiment than a wife. Miriam appeared at her door on the 3rd morning. Mr. Rashad would like to speak with you, she said softly. He'll be in the West Garden. Ayanna didn't answer right away. But an hour later, she made her way outside. She found him by the fountain, seated on a carved stone bench, dressed down for once, charcoal joggers, black hoodie, no watch. He looked younger that way. Less calculated. Less dangerous. He stood when she approached. I thought you might never come. She didn't sit. I'm not here for another promise, she said. I'm here for answers. He nodded, almost relieved. I never meant to lie, he said. But I did hide things. Why? She asked, crossing her arms. If you knew about me for years, if you had people watching me, why didn't you just introduce yourself like a normal person? Because I didn't want to be normal with you, he said. I wanted to be better. Ayanna stared. That's not an answer. Malik ran a hand through his hair, frustration flickering behind his calm. Your mother's clinic was part of a non-profit I funded anonymously, he explained. Years ago. I visited it once. You were there. You didn't see me, but I saw you. She froze. You were arguing with someone about billing. I remember thinking you looked like someone who refused to break, even when everything around you was falling apart. So you followed me. I kept tabs. That's all. Until, you ended up in that bar. Ayanna swallowed. You made sure I'd be desperate enough to say yes. No, he said sharply. That part wasn't planned. You walking into that lounge, that was fate. She looked away. And the file? Subject 0. What does that mean? He was silent. Too long. Malik. It means, you were the first person I ever considered building something real with. Not transactional. Not political. Just real. She stepped back. So you call me, Subject 0? That's not romantic. That's. I called you that before I knew your name. That stopped her. The anger in her chest twisted. Because part of her still wanted to believe him. Still wanted to feel like this wasn't all a script she'd been pushed into. Then let me go, she said. Malik looked up. What? If this wasn't a setup. If you weren't trying to control me, then let me leave. His jaw flexed. I'll walk. I won't go to the press. I won't sell the story. I'll just disappear. If you love me, let me walk away from this. A long silence passed between them. Then Malik said. You're free to go. That night, she packed a bag. No one stopped her. Miriam helped her fold her things. No guilt. No panic. Just a quiet sadness. At the gate, a car waited. And Malik stood beside it. You really mean this? She asked. I mean everything I said. You are not a prisoner here. She looked him in the eye. Then why does it feel like leaving you is the most terrifying thing I've ever done? He didn't smile. Didn't beg. Didn't even flinch. Instead, he pulled a slip of paper from his coat pocket and handed it to her. An address. Go here, he said. If you still want answers. She arrived an hour later at a private townhouse on the edge of the city. No security. No staff. Just one man. Older. Graying beard. Kind eyes. He opened the door like he'd been waiting. "You must be Mrs. Rashad," he said. "Come in." She hesitated. "You knew I was coming." He nodded. "Malik sent me your file years ago. Asked me to monitor your security, not your life." "Why?" "Because you reminded him of his mother," the man said. "Strong. Alone. Worth protecting." Ayanna stared. And suddenly, the version of Malik she knew, cold, in control, cracked. "He never talks about her," she said. "He never forgave himself for not saving her." Inside, the man showed her photos. A woman with fierce eyes and tight curls. Medical documents. Newspaper clippings. Charities in her name. "You weren't chosen," the man said gently. "You were recognized." Ayanna sat with that truth on the ride home. Because that's where she went. Home. Back to the gates. Back to Malik. He didn't greet her with flowers. He was in the same lounge where they'd first shared tea. She stepped in and closed the door behind her. "I saw her picture," she said. Malik looked up. "And?" Ayanna walked toward him. "She was beautiful." He nodded once. "She would have liked you." Ayanna sat beside him. "I'm not subject zero anymore." "No," he said. "Now you're everything." She survived betrayal. But she hadn't seen what was coming next. The peace didn't last. For 3 days after Ayanna returned, the mansion was quiet. No calls. No threats. No shadows in the garden. She and Malik spoke more openly. Less guarded. He showed her parts of his world she'd never seen, the charitable foundations he funded, the tech labs he invested in, the small schools and rural towns he'd built in silence. She was beginning to see him not just as the man who watched her, but the man who tried to protect her, even if it meant hurting her first. Still, she wasn't sure she fully trusted him. But she wanted to try. Then the package arrived. A single brown envelope. Delivered not to the mansion, but to Ayanna's old flower shop. The owner, Mr. Curtis, called her. "This came with your name on it," he said. "No return address." Ayanna told Malik immediately. He picked it up himself. The envelope was opened in the estate's security room. Inside was a flash drive and a note in crude block letters. "You married your enemy. How long before you become one too?" Malik's jaw was stone. Ayanna looked at him. "Do you know who sent this?" He didn't answer. Instead, he plugged in the drive. A single video file played. Grainy footage. Black and white. A dark room. Malik, 5 years younger, seated at a table, speaking to someone off-screen. There was audio. "If she's connected to the senator, remove her quietly." Ayanna flinched. "Pause it," she said. The technician stopped the clip. "That voice, that's you," she whispered. Malik didn't deny it. "But you were talking about someone else," she said, trying to make sense of it. "Right?" He didn't answer. "Malik." His voice was low. Controlled. It was a different time. A different life. Ayanna backed away slowly. "Were you involved in disappearances?" "No," he said. She gave him a look. "Fine," he said tightly. "Not directly." "Then what were you involved in?" He ran a hand over his face. "You want the truth," he said. "I built my empire on leverage. Not blood. But sometimes, people disappeared because others wanted them to. I didn't stop it. I benefited from it." She was silent. He stepped forward. "But I've never lied to you about who I am." "You didn't have to lie," she whispered. You just waited for me to fall in love with you before I saw the rest. That night, she didn't eat dinner. She sat on her balcony, staring at the flash drive in her lap. Was she becoming one of them now? Another name in a file? Another woman used for power? Or, was she the only person in Malik's life who could change him? Downstairs, Malik met with his security team. Someone inside leaked that footage, he said. His right-hand man, Obina, nodded. We traced the file to an internal server. Someone from your legal branch. Handle it. Quietly, Malik said. And the woman? Obina looked uncomfortable. You mean your wife? Malik. Malik didn't respond. Obina continued, she's strong. But this kind of thing breaks people. She's not people, Malik said. She's her. The next day, Ayana received an invitation. A private brunch at Zara Isa's estate. Yes, that's Zara. The woman from the gala. The woman who tried to smile through poison. Malik didn't want her to go. She's trying to rattle you, he said. Nothing good will come from it. I'm not afraid of her, Ayana said. She doesn't play fair. Ayana stared at him. Neither do I. Zara's estate was cold and bright, with too much glass and not enough soul. Zara met Ayana at the courtyard with 2 champagne flutes. I wanted to meet the woman who made Malik break his own rules, she said smoothly. Ayana took the glass. Didn't drink. Zara led her to a private table set for 2. I watched that video too, she said suddenly. The one with your husband giving kill orders. Ayana said nothing. Zara tilted her head. Still wearing his ring. Interesting. I don't run from hard things, Ayana replied. I face them. Zara's smile was slow. Sharp. Then I suppose it's time you know why I really invited you. She pulled out a black folder from under the table. Inside were glossy photos. Malik. A woman. Not Ayana. In Paris. Smiling. Years ago. He proposed to her once, Zara said. She said no. And disappeared. Ayana looked at the last photo. It was the same woman, outside a courthouse. And the figure behind her? Obina. Malik's head of security. Watching. Ayana stood. This meeting is over. Zara sipped her champagne. Careful, darling. You might be in love with a man who doesn't know how to let go. Ayana didn't respond. But her hands were shaking. Back home, she waited until after dark. Malik entered her room without knocking. She held up the photo. You didn't tell me about her. I didn't think it mattered. It matters to me. He exhaled. She left. She didn't want this life. I respected that. So why was your man following her years later? Silence. Then, because I never trust loose ends. Ayana stepped back. You loved her. Yes, he said simply. More than me. He looked her in the eye. No. Ayana felt her throat close. Then why does it still feel like she's here, and I'm the replacement? Malik stepped forward, his voice low. You are not the second choice, Ayana. You're the only choice I've ever fought for, Elle. She didn't say anything. But she didn't walk away either. And Malik knew that was all he could hope for now. You can't love someone like Malik and come out untouched. And Ayana was done pretending she could. The next morning, Ayana didn't cry. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She dressed in sharp, neutral tones, cream blouse, high-waisted trousers, minimal makeup, and walked straight into Malik's study before he could call for her. He looked up from his desk, caught off guard. Ayana. We're not doing this dance anymore, she said. You want me to be your wife? Then I need more than half-truths and velvet lies. She dropped the photo folder on his desk. You want my loyalty? Earn it. With the whole truth. Malik closed the folder and looked at her for a long time. Then, slowly, he stood. And said, "Come with me." They drove in silence. Not in his usual SUV, but in a smaller, unmarked sedan. No drivers. No guards. She didn't ask questions. Not yet. They arrived at a gated building tucked into a quiet district near the Lagos docks. Malik entered a passcode. Led her down a hall. Opened a steel door. Inside, a simple room with a single light. And a man seated at the table. Handcuffed. Eyes alert. This, Malik said quietly, is the man who leaked the flash drive. Ayana's eyes widened. The man didn't look like a villain. Just, tired. Quiet. Why? She asked. The man looked at her, then at Malik. Because your husband has enemies. And someone paid me well to show you who he used to be. Who? Ayana pressed. He didn't answer. Malik turned to her. This is where you make a choice. A choice. If you want to walk away from all this, I'll have him released. You'll never see him again. You can return to your old life, and I'll vanish from it. She stared at him. And if I stay? Malik's voice dropped lower. Then you learn how to fight back. With me. She didn't respond immediately. Not until the man, the betrayer, looked her dead in the eyes and said. You'll never leave clean. No one does. Ayana turned to Malik. And nodded once. I stay. Ayana turned to Malik. And nodded once. I stay. Back at the estate, Miriam was waiting with an envelope. Mail for you, she said. Ayana opened it without thinking. Inside, a single page. A court summons. Ayana Rashad is hereby ordered to appear as a witness in a government investigation into Malik Rashad's foreign accounts. Her breath caught. Below that, a typed note. We'll protect you. Tell the truth. Or go down with him. Ayana looked up at Malik, who had stepped behind her. He read it too. They're trying to turn you, he said coldly. She looked at him. Are they wrong? No, he replied. They're desperate. That night, Ayana sat on her balcony again. No tea. No phone. Just silence. Until Malik appeared in the doorway. He didn't say anything. Just held something in his hand. A flash drive. What's that? She asked. My side of the story, he said. Everything I've ever done, the truth. My lawyer doesn't even have this. She hesitated. Why would you give that to me? Because I'm not trying to control you anymore. He handed it to her. Do what you want with it. Burn it. Keep it. Give it to them. But if you do, make sure you know what side you're choosing. She took it. Held it in her palm. Felt the weight of it. Not metal. Not plastic. But trust. Later, alone, Ayana sat with the flash drive on her nightstand. The key necklace around her neck. The summons in her drawer. And Malik's voice in her mind. This world was never clean. But I loved you like it could be. Some truths break love. Others make it real. The morning was too quiet. Ayana hadn't slept. She held the flash drive in her hand for hours, but never plugged it in. She didn't need to. Not anymore. Whatever was on it, secrets, deals, confessions, she had already made her choice. She would face the storm with him. Or walk into it alone. Malik stood by the garden fountain, dressed in black, eyes lost in something only he could see. You didn't open it, he said as she approached. No, she replied. I didn't need to. He nodded once, slow. I won't lie to you again, he said. Whatever comes next, we meet it together. Ayana's jaw tightened. Then tell me the one thing you've never said. He turned to her fully. I've hurt people, he said. Some deserved it. Some didn't. But I never wanted to hurt you. That's not the truth I meant. He paused. Then stepped forward. I love you, Ayana. She didn't answer right away. But she stayed. Later that afternoon, the reckoning arrived, not in secret, not in shadow, but in the form of federal agents at the front gate. Warrants. Search orders. A formal investigation. Malik met them at the door with Obina by his side. Ayana stood behind him, silent but present. The lead agent handed over the documents. We're here for the international financial records, he said. And the wife. Ayana blinked. Me? You're listed as a joint business trustee. You'll need to testify. Obina stepped forward. She doesn't speak without counsel. Ayana held up her hand. It's fine. Malik turned to her, alarmed. No, he said. They want to turn you against me. She met his eyes. I know. In the interview room downtown, Ayana sat alone at a metal table, hands folded, ring still on her finger. Across from her, two investigators. Male. Polished. Experienced. Let's start simple, one of them said. How did you meet your husband? She gave the short version. The real question, the other said, is do you believe your husband is a criminal? She looked him dead in the eye. No. I believe my husband is a protector. Of who? Of me. And anyone he hasn't given up on. Back at the estate, Malik waited by the window as dusk fell. No word yet. No updates. Just silence. Until headlights swept across the gravel drive. She stepped out of the car in the same clothes. Untouched. Unbroken. And walked to him. No words passed between them. Just eyes. Just breath. And finally, her hand in his. That night, she plugged in the flash drive. Not because she had to. Because she wanted to know the truth. All of it. And when the files loaded, contracts, bribes, old letters, broken friendships, enemies made and enemies silenced, she didn't flinch. She simply closed the laptop when it was over. And walked downstairs to find Malik. He stood alone in the study. Back to the door. Sensing her presence, he turned. I saw it all, she said. He nodded. And? I still choose you. His breath caught. Then, finally, a smile. Not the calculated kind. Not the guarded one. But real. Then let's rebuild it right, he said. No more lies. No more secrets. No more locked doors. Ayana stepped closer. And no more subject numbers. He reached out and touched the key around her neck. Just you. Just us. They didn't kiss. Not yet. There was too much left to clean up. Too much to fix. Too many enemies still out there. But for the first time in a long time, Ayana didn't feel trapped. She felt chosen. And she had chosen back. They didn't fall in love the way stories said they should. But they stayed in love the way life demands. The investigation dragged on for weeks. But no charges were filed. No convictions. Just a sea of questions, unanswered calls, and eyes watching from every direction. Ayana stayed. Not because it was easy. But because it was real. Malik's world didn't soften for her. She sharpened for it. And when the smoke finally cleared, it was just the two of them, standing not where they began, but somewhere better. Somewhere earned. They went to the flower shop on a Sunday. No security. No disguises. Just them. Ayanna ran her fingers along the edge of the old counter. Everything feels smaller, she said. Malik leaned beside her. You didn't. She smiled at him. You used to scare me. You still scare me, he said. Every time you look at me like you see through the parts I've buried. Maybe I do, she said. And you stay anyway. That's how I know it's real. Outside, the air was warm. They sat beneath the same streetlight where they first met, in front of the lounge she never thought she'd walk back to. He reached into his jacket and handed her a small envelope. Inside was a new key. Another lock, she teased. No, he said. A beginning. What's it open? Our next home. She looked up. You're building it? We're building it, he corrected. Away from secrets. Just us. Later that night, they danced on the mansion rooftop. No music. Just wind and the hum of Lagos in the distance. She rested her head against his chest. I never imagined this life, she whispered. He kissed the top of her head. Neither did I, he said. But I imagined you. Always. The stars were quiet. The city lights below blinked on and off like promises. And in the silence, in the stillness, Ayanna knew the truth. She hadn't married a fantasy. She had married a storm. But now, she stood at its center. Calm. Chosen. Home.